What's happening in our schools is not anything at all about education. It is about getting our kids to conform. It is about a progressive agenda that is going to be jammed down their throats. It is not about higher standards. In the testing, all our teachers are now doing are teaching to the test. They are teaching our kids only how to take a test. This is going to destroy the love of teaching and destroy the love of learning. And it already is. And the great news is there are a lot of people on the left and the right. This started when we started talking about this a couple of years ago. We were newbies in it, and there were some really people. There were people that were already on this and did a really great job. And we started getting on it. And, of course, they attacked us and said, well, they're just right-wing conspiracists. But the deal is, this is bringing the right and the left together because it is so clear. And I want to tell you the story about Josh Breckin. Josh Breckin, he is a state senator in Oklahoma. And he got up when everybody was saying, hey, stop with all this right-wing stuff. And he got up in the Senate in Oklahoma, and he said, I just want to read something. And he started reading what basically was pornography. And he was gavelled to silence, and he said, what? If we can read this in our schools, certainly we can read it here. And that was the beginning of turning the tide in Oklahoma, at least I believe, and so do several people that have been watching this. Now it is the toughest anti-Common Core bill is on the governor's desk in Oklahoma, waiting for her to sign it. And we welcome Josh Breckin to the program. Hi, Josh. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Have I said your name right?
You did.
Okay, good. Senator, what you guys did in Oklahoma a year ago looked impossible. How did you get there?
Well, I believe that it was a result of a lot of prayer and people, rising up and doing what many people, including yourself, have been talking about, and taking good information and putting it into practice.
When you stood up in the well of the Senate and you had, you were reading basically, pornography. Can you remember any of it without being pornographic? Can you remember what it was?
Well, yes. Anybody that knows the context of one of those text exemplars, there's two that I think are very concerning. And I would just say that that's, a small portion of the indoctrination that can be found, as you know
Yes.
well, throughout the Common Core initiative. But I really hesitated doing that because I didn't want the focus to be on one of the text exemplars. I wanted to stay on the federal overreach that so well is behind Common Core.
Right.
But reading what is the description through the mind or the eyes of a rapist about raping a child.
Beyond raping a child, what is, I think this is Blue Eyes or something like that. And it's a book that our kids, they're recommending this book to read it. And it is not just the raping of a child through the eyes of a child rapist. It is the washing clean of that. It is the moral cleansing of that act and saying, hey, look, we all have our own problems and we all have our own issues. Yes, he's a rapist of a child, but you might be something else.
You're right. The researchers on this subject said the book was written, according to the author, to make the reader feel as if they were a co-conspirator with the rapist.
Okay, which to me is just horrifying and shocking. And do you think that was stood out in people's minds, or do you think it was just the solid argument? Do you need things like that, or do you think it's just the solid argument of this is a federal overreach?
I think it takes both. I think that I thought long and hard about doing that. I asked some people that are that I'm in covenant with to pray with me about whether or not I should do that. I just felt led to do it. I spent a good portion of my debate talking about the issue of federal overreach and the developmentally inappropriate standards and the chaos in New York, and I went through a plethora of other issues with Common Core. But I think ending on that was trying to say, if there's smoke, there's fire. Don't think that there's not a liberal agenda behind this when this is recommended in the classroom as one of the text exemplars of Common Core.
Okay, so it passed the House by a huge margin, and it passed the Senate by 3-1, which is remarkable. And again, we're talking Oklahoma. It repeals Common Core immediately, takes the whole thing apart so you can't just, shoehorn something else in under another name, which Florida has done and Texas did. This really removes all of it and keeps the control at the state level, but it now sits on Mary Fallon's desk. I have heard from people that I trust both sides. She's going to sign it. She's not going to sign it. What have you heard?
I heard both. And I think it's more important than ever, and I appreciate the audience that you're affording us here to be able to send people to rightlyconcerned.org or call the governor's office. And as Oklahoma is at the point of the arrow, we would hope that conservatives all across America would say, stand up and do what others won't.
Okay, so a recent poll in Oklahoma shows only 15% are for this. 62% want it repealed, and yet your media is all over. In Oklahoma, this kills me. I mean, you just can't. This is one of the frustrating things that I've found in the media. It is such groupthink that it doesn't matter where you are. They all think alike. They've all been indoctrinated in their universities, and they all just come out these zombies. And I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them. They come out zombies. And now the media is full bore trying to say that the governor should veto this bill, correct?
That's correct. I mean, it's very slanted. The two largest newspapers are writing it from the posture of pandering fear of the sky is going to fall if she does this, if she signs this bill into law.
Well, they're saying that they're going to lose. You're going to lose all your federal funding,
which is not accurate. We don't lose federal funding, and when you do the total spending for common education, what they're talking about is if we lose the waiver, we would lose flexibility, not dollars, flexibility over how we spend $27 million, which, by the way, is 0.05%, less than 1%. Of our total expenditure on common education in the state of Oklahoma. So all of this argument is over less than 0.5% over dollars, yet we're willing to cede control to the federal government over not just our standards and assessments, teacher leader evaluations, Reading Sufficiency Act, A through F, ACE. Those are all points in our No Child Left Behind waiver, and the waiver is about control. The waiver is not about flexibility. The waiver is about control. And I think Oklahoma, if we will free ourselves from this fear, I think it will encourage and embolden other states to follow suit.
Josh, thank you very much. I appreciate standing up, and everybody that is standing up in Oklahoma. You're not alone. I'm sorry that we're singling you out because of a great speech that you gave, but it is a huge team effort, and we know a lot of the people up in Oklahoma that are working on this, and it has been a nonstop juggernaut to try to get this thing stopped. And I would hope and I would pray that Mary Fallon, who I like, but again, I mean, she's going in, isn't she? Is she not going in to be the next president of the Governors Association?
She is currently.
She's currently.
That is the situation we find ourselves in. Currently, she is the chair of the National Governors Association.
And that's going to play a huge role. I mean, as the governors are oppressing her all around the country.
They're all proud that they supposedly are responsible for this thing. Yeah, it's a mess.
Josh, thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate it, and God bless.
Send people to rightlyconcerned.org. Encourage them. You can send emails to the governor. I also want to thank Representative Jason Nelson, who started this, and thank you so much for having us on.
Okay, wait, it's rightlyconcerned.com?
Yes, rightlyconcerned.org, rightlyconcerned.org, and they can submit through that website. They can immediately fill out their information, send a note to the governor, and also gives the governor's telephone number.
Great.
So people can call her.
Thank you very much. I will tell you also, we have had several people, and I don't want to say anything to on anybody because it's still in flux, but we have had several people from legislatures all over the country that said our governor or the president of the Senate or whatever it is was on the other side, and we just begged them to please read conform. And they went in to start to read it, and they were going to use it as fodder of, see, I told you. And they are starting to turn. And it really is, can you make a good, cogent case? And yes, you can. And it's not about conspiracy theories. It's not about anything. This is why we're having, honestly, we are having liberal teachers and administrators come out and endorse this book. People who are saying, I'm on the other side. I don't agree with you. I voted for Obama.
This is why one of the worst things you can do, I think, is to start calling this, or continue to call this, because some people already do, Obamacare. If you do that, you're just going to turn off those who support Obama when we got a good chance of getting them on our side.
And it's not really Obamacare. Bush started this. Bush started this.
I don't know if he started it, but it began under his administration.
That's not actually true either. It started under the Clinton administration, but Bush really ratcheted it up, and then Obama did the final piece.
Well, he did No Child Left Behind, which was, I think, pushing this agenda, and then Race to the Top.
Yes.
Pushed it even further.
Yeah. And so this is, remember when we said in 2008 or 9, don't take the federal bailout money. Don't take it, because your state will be slaves. You don't know the strings and the ramifications. Well, we didn't even know at the top. This is the string and the ramification. Common Core is that string. You've sold your soul for that federal money. Don't do it. You know, in Oklahoma, he's talking about 1%. What if it was 10%? What if it was 50%? 50% of your educational budget would go away. Would you still do it? Would you still say, we shouldn't sell our kids down? Yes, if it's 75%, if it's 100%. You don't do education that is this wrong. There's nothing you gain from this. Do you know in the first grade now they are stopping handwriting? You're not going to handwrite anything. They're teaching you now in the first grade to type and not to print. There's no cursive. How are you going to be able to read any of our founding documents? How are you going to be able to read anything from history? How are you going to be able to read anything from your own family history? How are your kids going to be able to read anything? How are your kids going to be able to keep a diary? How are your kids going to be able to do any of that? They won't. There's also new studies out that show that if you type, the quick brown fox jumped over the fence, you type that, it is not the same in your brain as writing it out. Just typing it does not do the same thing, does not imprint it on you. We're screwing around. Ella was sick this weekend. And I came home, and it was Friday night, and she has, GVC, I think. It's where
it's your dog.
Yeah, Ella's my dog, and big barrel-chested dogs, especially purebred German Shepherds, they can have their stomach and their spleen and everything just twist inside of them. And her stomach flipped 180 degrees, and it just torqued everything off. So she was not getting any circulation inside her chest cavity. And they can die within 2 hours. And we noticed something was wrong, and I saw her chest getting bigger and bigger, and we rushed her to the hospital, and they said, we got to get her into surgery right away. So we did, and they said, even if we do surgery, she might die. Well, she did. Now, this has been bothering me for the last few days, and I know nothing about this. I don't know if this is true or not. But that seems like such an obvious design flaw that God could not have been involved. That has to come from pure breeding these animals ourselves, man getting involved and breeding these animals. We don't know the damage that we're doing when we mess with things. What do you say until we know what computers, what video games, what losing cursive does? What these tests do. If we can have anybody else besides our kids be the guinea pigs. And they'll say, well, you can't. What, are you going to have somebody else's kids be the guinea pigs? Well, you know what? If some other country wants to do it, that's great. What do you say we stop torching our children's educational system? We have been doing it for 70 years. Stop it. Stop. Even if you lose 100%, stop. By the way, Ohioans Against Common Core are running an event at 11 a.m. today. At 11 a.m., is it? Yeah, that's okay. So 11 a.m. today, they are running this in the State House atrium in Columbus. If you're anywhere in that area, please go. Stop Common Core. It is not a conspiracy. It is not a right-wing thing. It's right, left, up, down. It's all of it. Everyone agrees on this as you do your own homework. And by the way, in the movie theaters, 600 theaters nationwide, a new movement solidifies July 22nd. WeWillNotConform.com. Find out about it and bring your friends. WeWillNotConform.com. Something we've never done before, in a way we've never done. Movie theaters live July 22nd.